Are you the GOAT? The GOAT is the greatest of all time. And today we're talking about how you can be the GOAT in your business, how you can be in the top 1% of all the businesses in your industry, in your field, and how easy it is. I'm going to show you 5 different ways that you can be the GOAT, and I'm going to show you what you need to do to get there. And I'm also going to show you today how you can recognize, is this what a GOAT looks like? Okay. So when you think of this, who do you think of? Who for you is the GOAT? Whatever industry you're thinking of, put it down below, put it in the comments and let me know who is the GOAT for you. And because we really want to dive into this. In fact, Steve Jobs, one of the GOATs, right? He says that focusing is about saying no. Okay. And think about this. When he had his company and he became the greatest of all time with Apple, it's because he said no to everything else. He said no to all the other products that they were doing when he came back in the second time to save the company. And so the question is, are you saying no enough? Are you even focused enough? You see, focus precedes flow. And if you want to be in that state of flow and harmony and you're thinking, oh, I want to balance, well, you're never really going to have balance. Okay. You're going to have flow. And so you have to be focused before you get the flow. That's really important. So take a look at some of the GOATs here. Who are the GOATs for you? Who do you think is the greatest of all time? And these are people in all kinds of industries. Hey, I'm a physics major. Love me some Einstein, right? We've got Joe Rogan. We've got even GOATs who are characters and Marvel characters, whether it's Superman or Iron Man and the real life Iron Man, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Tiger is the GOAT of golf, right? Warren Buffett, the GOAT of investing. And we've got Gary Vee, the GOAT in marketing. Who's the GOAT on YouTube, right? Mr. Beast. So all kinds of ages, all kinds of industries. But my question is, are you a GOAT? And do you know how to even become a GOAT? Okay. So welcome to Iconic TV. My name is Dr. Connie Scavella. I am your host today. I am your GOAT for the day. And I am a 3-time #1 best-selling author, an international speaker, and a business growth strategist. And what that means for you is that my specialty is taking your business and turning it around so you can scale it from 6 to 7 figures like I did in 1 year or less without any of the stress, the struggle, and all the expense that goes with it. And that's how you become a GOAT, okay? Most people think you can't do it. I'm going to show you why and how you can do that now, right? So here's the question. What are you doing right now? Are you following the market? Or are you leading your movement? Think about this, because all of the GOATs that we showed just now, and whoever is your favorite GOAT, put it down below. They have one thing that they do, and they lead that movement, right? They're ahead of everybody else, head and shoulders, right? They're sort of the secretariat, the racehorse of the business industry. And that's really how you have to be. You have to have your blinders on. And you have to run your own race. You can't be following the market or the economy's down. And I do a workshop every Tuesday morning, and it's live here in San Diego. And I always ask people about how do they decide what strategy they're going to price their products and services at. And you know what they say? Almost 99% of the time, they say that they look at the competitors and they price it around what the competitors are doing. And if you are trying to do that, please stop right away and book a call, because that's one of the worst things that you can do in your business. Okay. So most businesses fail when they try to solve a problem that they haven't mastered yet, right? What does that mean? Just because you have a passion for something, that you may have decided that's your business, but have you really mastered it? And if you just learned it and now you're teaching it, or maybe you have a business, a brick and mortar business, but you don't even know what your competitors are doing and you haven't shopped them and you haven't compared their services, you haven't mastered what you're doing yet. There's so much that goes into business. And if you want to be the greatest of all time, you must know what everybody else is doing. And then you have to completely disrupt that and be 10 times better. Okay. Actually, you don't even have to be 10 times better. You have to be twice as good, and then people will pay you more than anybody else, right? You want to be not the low price leader, but you want to be the high price leader in business, because then you don't have to work like a slave to your business. And I think that's why we got into business, right? So, but most people aren't doing the thing that they need to do. And guess what? They end up falling down. And how many times do you end up falling down? Hey, it's slippery. You can't figure out what you're doing. I'm going to show you exactly how you figure out if you're going to make it or you're going to keep falling. So I want you to understand that. Think about what you have. Would you buy or use or benefit from your product or service? Is it something that you think is the best thing out there? Is it the bomb? If it's not, you have to fix it. You have to fix it, or you're going to fall on your ice or your assets, right? So let's keep this in mind. I'm going to show you the steps and the things that you need to be, to do, and to have to be the greatest of all time. And if you need some help with it, I want to help you out, right? And book a profit call with me. I will show you an exact strategy that you can do, and in just a few minutes, so that you can actually have the profits and have that $1 million business. Okay. So what does it take? There's one thing, okay? There's one thing that is the most important thing that you have to focus on. Do you know what that is? It's something we talk about here all the time, and that is singularity. This is the key to rise to the top of the 1%. There's only one thing you have to do. Now, it's not a lot of things, okay? It's one thing that you're focused on, but then you can leverage that, and that becomes many, okay? So you don't need a really tall ladder. You just need to leverage that ladder, right? So you can see it can take you to the top. But most people are so overwhelmed in business. You're just doing too many things, and then nothing is working, or not working well enough, or not fast enough. And then you think, oh, I should add this and add this and add this. And it doesn't work. Today we talked with some people who own a business, and they're like, well, we're not growing fast enough, so we decided we're going to pay to be on TV. Like, that is the dumbest move. Why? Because they don't have their marketing fleshed out. They don't know what their brand is. Their website doesn't work at all. They don't have a way to follow up with them. They don't have a call strategy, nothing. So they're going to pay all this money to be on TV. They haven't been on TV, and so it's not going to go well, right? So I told them, don't do it, right? If you haven't paid, don't do it. Put it out for about 4 to 8 weeks so you can develop that. This is the year of the brand. And if you don't have a standout brand, you definitely will not be the GOAT. Okay. We are the iconic brands, right? That's our entire company. And if you need help with a brand, just let us know. So always be wondering, how is it possible to give so much for the money? Henry Ford said that, right? Another GOAT, right? How could you just give so much more for the amount of money that people are spending and just blow them away, go over the top? That's one of the ways that you become the GOAT, okay? So again, if you want that call, just go to callconnie.com, and of course, be sure to subscribe either left or right. Click on one of those sides over here or over here and subscribe, especially if you're on our brand new YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it, so we can get the word out to other people and be one of our early subscribers, get some of our gifts. So what do we have to stop doing? Okay, how do you know if you are ready or primed to be the GOAT, the greatest of all time, in that top 1%? So here's the 4 things that you look at, okay? We use this saying all the time in our company, be the rock and not the ripple. What does that mean? If you think about this, when you throw a rock in a lake, okay, what happens? The lake ripples out, okay? Most people are caught up in the ripple. They're caught up in the effect of what's going on, but they're not the one making the effect, okay? So you can go to thesoarquiz.com and you can find out which of these 4, this is the only 4 blocks that you will have in your business. That's it. There's no more. So are you stretched, right? There's just, you can't even handle everything, or maybe you're just spinning from one thing to another, like these business owners today who are like, oh, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. They're just spinning all these plates. Maybe you're stuck and you flatlined. There's no oxygen left in you. You can't move that business forward, and maybe you're slipping. Like you were going great, but then you noticed that your movement is not so great. The momentum slowed down. The clients slowed down. It's harder to get people to interact and engage with you. Okay. So that's that SOAR quiz. Take that SOAR quiz. Now I want you to look at this. Okay. If you look at your friends, you know how they say you are the sum total of the 5 friends that you have closest to you. Okay. Think about this. Okay. If you could take the top 10% of the earners that you know, the people that make the most money that you know, who would you pick? Who would you pick? Why would you pick them? What is it about those people that you'd say, yeah, if I could get for life 10% of everything they make, wouldn't that be awesome? Okay. If you could get 10% of the top earners you know, why would you pick them? What is it about them that you would pick? Okay. And then the second half of the question is if you could short the earnings of the bottom 10%, meaning if you could bet against the people who are the losers, that they can't make the money, who would you pick? Who would you say these people are never going to make it? Okay. I want you to think about that. Look at your friends. Okay. Now, what are those traits that you say, now, because of that, I wouldn't want to bet money on them, right? You're going to think of this like Warren Buffett, okay? It's like, what does he do? He buys good companies led by good people. And if you think about being the GOAT, it's really a strong leadership play. And most people are, again, trying to run a company, but they're not trying to lead a movement around their company. And that's why they can't grow. They don't have a story around their brand. It all ties together. It all stacks up for the same big problem. Okay, so think about those people. If you could get 10% off of the best people around you for life, you got 10% of all their earnings, who would you pick and why? Okay, so now that you know that, I want you to look in the mirror, and which of those qualities do you have? And which of their qualities do you drop? Okay, what do you have that they have, and what don't you have that they have? Or maybe what do you have that you don't want to bet on them? Okay, so this is very important. If you're trying to become the greatest, it's not like you have to do more. Okay, remember, in order to soar, you've got to do less, not more. And so, but you have to know how to recognize, what is a GOAT? What do they do? How could you model after them, not copy? People are trying to copycat everyone. That doesn't work. Okay. It's not intimate. It's not personalized. So you have to model the greatest people out there. There's so many examples. I showed you 16 or 20 right in the beginning. If you haven't seen that beginning part and you're just getting here, just type #replay, and my team is here and they will get you the replays. Okay. So what are we talking about? And, I love this saying, change breaks the brittle. Okay. Change breaks the brittle. And what does that mean? Like if you're weak and you know things aren't working, you're going to have to change. And then people who are not the GOAT, they break under that requirement to change. So a true entrepreneur, a GOAT, embraces change, embraces growth, embraces the new, has massive amounts of curiosity, has massive amounts of resilience, and they don't fall back just because there's some little change. Okay. We always tell our clients that the money is made in the meltdown. If you're prepared for the coming meltdown, you're going to make a fortune. Okay. So what do you need to do? You need to get out of your own box. Okay. Get out of your own box. And by that, I mean, are you just a follower? Okay. Are you following everybody else? You're connecting the dots and kind of like a being in a job, right? Everything has to be lined up in the same day to day to day. Well, that's a follower. But a leader says, hey, I'm not coloring inside the lines. I'm not following. I'm not making a pattern. I am creating my own design. And that's really, really what you need to do. Okay. You have to get outside of the box. You have to break the mold. You have to disrupt what everyone else is doing in order to be the GOAT, right? They don't call it a herd, right? That's just the masses. You have to be ahead of everyone, the greatest of all time, right? Kind of the Kobe or the Michael Jordan of basketball. You have to be that in your business. And I want to show you what it takes, okay? There's a term that's called agency. Agency means like you're in control. You run everything. Okay, not that you're a control freak. Okay, but you understand that the buck stops with you. All right, and so this is called agency. And goats are what we call high agency people. Okay, so they have high agency. So let me show you the difference, and I'm going to show you a cartoon here, and just so you can understand what that is. Okay, so in this cartoon, if you're listening, it's a cartoon and a man stranded in an island, right? And so he takes some wood from the trees and places around, and he lays out the word help, and he just sits there and he waits there on that island for someone to come. Okay. So a low agency person is somebody who is hyper generalist. Everything they do is general. Okay. There's nothing different about them. They lack the discipline. All right. They don't do the required things. They don't follow step-by-step instructions. They're like willy-nilly. Oh, let me try this today. Let me try this now. They never have deadlines. Okay. So, which also means they usually don't have goals, and they're late adopters. Okay. So late adopters means, yeah, if everybody else is doing it, then I'm going to do it. They never lead the pack. Okay. So those are low agency people. Those are not goats. Okay. Now, what does the goat do? Is this making sense? Okay. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know. Does that make sense? I want you to think about that. What would you do if you're on that deserted island? Would you write out help and just sit there and like, somebody come help me? Or would you do what a high agency person would do? And that's B. And they take all that wood from that message. There's help sign, and they build a boat and they get off the island. Okay. They get away from that island. And that is what you need to do right now if you're a high agency person and you really want to be the GOAT. So high agency people know their locus of control. They know what they can do and what they can run and manage, and what they can't, and what they can't control, they let go. Okay. They are very intentionality is their hallmark, and extremely resourceful. They don't care about the resources. They care about being resourceful and coming up with new ideas. And they have a high bias for action, right? They're not going to sit there and try and spell the word. They are going to break things up. They're going to disrupt, and they're going to take action. And that's what you need to do. Is this making sense? So think about it. On a desert island, what would you do? Would you just sit there and wait? Or would you say, I'm going to build a boat, or I'm going to burn this whole thing and have somebody see the flames and come and help? Or I'm just going to practice my swimming and I'm going to swim to the next island. But high agency people are these goats, right? They control their outcome. And that's really what has to happen. Notice that they don't do more. Okay. Low agency people are always trying to look for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. They're the ones that have shiny object syndrome. Okay. And so what we call this, if you have ever been with us where we do the 5-hour workday, right? And we say, hey, there's 2 phones. Right? You always have 2 phones, your work phone and your non-work phone. So if you're one of these low agency people, you can't control your world, you think it's Oh, I'm so overwhelmed. That's the problem with most entrepreneurs. They're so overwhelmed. So, one little tip that you could do right now is you can have two phones. You can have the calm phone, right? And you can have the cocaine phone. The cocaine phone is the one that just makes you hyper and addicted. And you go to it first thing in the morning and it's got all your apps and it's beeping all day, right? It's all your multitasking things and your emails and it dings. Okay, that's the cocaine phone. But you have to, if you want to be high agency, if you want to be a goat, goats say no, right? That was the first quote we had with Steve Jobs. They say no. So have a separate phone. So I have two phones, and I actually don't even have a cocaine phone, but I don't know, maybe it's one line, but it's a little bit. It doesn't have a lot on there. Okay. And then my other phone has zero social media, nothing. It's a very small handful of people that have that number. And I never give it out. I never use it for anything else. And so when my day is over, I put the cocaine phone away, goes in the office, and I work with my calm phone, right? And my calm phone has all my meditations. By the way, we have some meditations there. If you are into that, if you want our series of meditations, we have a series of 6 of them, and it's on an audio app, so you can just listen to them on your phone. Just type #meditations. If you're trying to get calm and really own your locus of control and really own your day, yourself, your mind, right? Because most of business is this. It's a mindset game. And if you are not winning that game and it's mastering you instead of the other way around, then you need some help with that. Okay. So if you do need some help, if you want to be the GOAT, go to callconnie.com or just call that number, right? That is my office number. And wherever you are, call, leave a message, leave a text, leave a voicemail, whatever you want to do, and say, hey, I want one of these profit calls, or I want the meditations, or I need help with my strategy, whatever it is. Okay. So now that you know that this is really important, you know what a GOAT looks like and how you have to be. Let me give you some examples of how you can recognize this in others and then apply it to yourself. You see, you kind of want to use the technology of mirror neurons, right? When you see something happening, it can affect you. So if you can start to notice these things in others, then you can start bringing it into you. You can start modeling it and naturally become and matriculate into becoming the GOAT. All right. So I'm going to show you these 6 things. Okay. These are traits of high agency leaders. These are the top 1%. Okay. So let me read these off to you and then I'm going to break it down. So get some paper, start thinking about who does this remind me of? How could I be like this? And this will also tell you if you are naturally a GOAT. Did you do some of these things growing up, or are they traits that you have that you could really highlight? Okay, so there's the energy distortion field, the weird teenage hobbies, they defy social incentives. They are counterintuitive when it comes to their behavior. They send niche contact, and they have the immigrant mentality. Okay, so let me break this down for you. I'll give you some personal examples, but think of your own, put some comments in there, and let me know what traits you have and which ones you need to develop. Okay, and this is from studying the GOATs, high agency people, multi-million, billion-dollar people. What do they do? Okay, remember we told you the very first thing, the number one thing is singularity. If you have multiple offers, multiple things you do, you think that multiple streams of income is super cool and you have to start with that. Don't start with that until you're after $1 million. Just don't even bother. Okay. Or if you think you need to be on 14 different social media platforms right now, no. Okay. Just stop. Singularity is the key. This is how we grew our company from zero, no social, no friends, no team, no email list, nothing. From zero to one, actually, I'll tell you, trying to grow it the wrong way, following bad advice. I was actually $86,000 in debt. And then I took it to $1.4 million in 9.5 months, not even a year. Okay. It was like a pregnancy. That's how fast it happened. So let's go into these because I want you to realize this is so doable. You just need to see it. Okay. If you think about it, oh, I can't do that, you're right. But if you can start to embody this, it will really help you. Okay. So, first one I want to talk about is the immigrant mentality. And what we're talking about here is these kind of people move from away from their hometown, and they move away from their home country. And when that happens, usually people leave or go away for more opportunity. So they tend to have a bias towards more opportunity. And they're very optimistic, like, hey, when I get to this town or this country, it'll be amazing. And so I grew up in Germany. And so we spent a lot of time there. I loved it. Okay. But when we came here, my parents wanted to come here for the opportunity. And we brought in our hard work ethic. You see this with a lot of people. I don't know if it's current generation, but past generations, right? That immigrant mentality, you realize, oh my God, I have an opportunity. I'm not going to blow it. And we work really hard to make sure that we get to the top. Does this make sense? Okay. So that's number one, that immigrant mentality, like, hey, if I could get a clean slate, if I could start over, I'll do whatever it takes to get to the top. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So that's the first one. So let's take a look at the next one. And what we're doing is we're trying to find out who are these outliers, right? Next one is energy distortion field. Okay. Think about the people you know and the people you hang out with, whether you knew them or not. Maybe you met somebody, or maybe you have some friends. Okay. How do they affect or disrupt or distort the field of energy around them, right? Some people walk into a room and you're just like, oh, wow, they light up a room. And other people walk into a room and you're like, I got to go. Okay. So look at it like this. The people that you are around, because they're going to affect you, are they treadmill people or are they sofa friends? So what do I mean by this? Treadmill or sofa. Some people you get around and you guys can talk and you're just going and going and going and you have all these ideas and like, oh my gosh, like we could talk about more ideas or we could go put it in a play. And then after you're done with that person and you guys are just bouncing ideas off of each other, you're like, God, you have the energy to just go on a treadmill and just run for hours, right? I have a friend named Paul who's amazing. And we have to literally block off half a day because when we get together, we'll talk for 4 to 5 hours and we have all these ideas and then we have lists of things to do when we get done. So he's a treadmill guy, right? And then there's other people that you get around and you're like, oh my God, you just wore me out. I just need to lay down after that, right? Those are sofa people. Okay. You don't want to be around those, right? Those are not the people that you want to get 10% of all their earnings off of. Okay. So think about this. Who do you know? Who can you emulate that have that ability to distort the energy field around them in a positive way? And how can you do that? Because it will affect you, right? People want to hear and be around people who have this magnetic energy, okay? Not people that are succubuses and want to learn from everybody else, but you're stingy, okay? You want to give, okay? So how can you do that? Like my mission right now is to I want to change the trajectory of 500 businesses locally. And I do a live workshop every Tuesday. If you want to come, just type workshop down below. We'll get you the link. And we do a live workshop just to show people how they can flip the script, how they can actually stop like struggling to get to 100,000 and start prospering and get to 1,000,000. It's so much easier than the other way around, right? And so it's fun because it's free. There's nothing that we're selling and it's a whole different energy field and people feel that. Every single time we do a workshop, we get 100% 5-star reviews, right? So that's what I want you to think about. How are you changing the energy field around you? Or are you just like, bye, 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 bye for me? Okay. Do you see how that makes a difference? Okay. So that's the second thing. Let's look at the third thing. This is a fun one. Okay. Weird teenage hobbies. Think about your teenage years. what did you do? What were your hobbies? What were the things that really, like if you just had some free time, what would you go and do? Um, I feel sorry for teenagers now. They just sort of sit on their phones. But, we did all kinds of weird things. So here's a couple things that I did. I used to get in trouble a lot, mostly for my mouth. And then they'd say, like, Connie, go to your room and think about what you said. Okay. Well, so I would lay on my bed and I would, on the street, I would listen to the cars as they would go by. And based on the sound of their engines, I would try to identify which car that is. Okay. Does that sound really weird? Okay. It's very weird. I'm a girl trying to figure out, based on the sound of an engine, what kind of vehicle that is. That's kind of weird. Okay. Another thing that I did is I was very much into fashion. And so I would go to fabric stores all the time, and I'd go to malls. I wouldn't buy any clothes. I would make them. And I didn't know how to follow patterns, right? Like I was always outside of the lines. You see how what you're like as a kid reflects how you are as an adult. So I didn't want to follow patterns. The patterns were so boring and right? So I would just look at fabric and I'd find fabric and then I'd visualize what I wanted to do. And then I'd buy exactly as much as I needed. And I just start cutting. I didn't have a design. I would just start cutting, and I just kind of knew my body, and I'd make stuff and I'd make clothes for other people. And like if I didn't have anything to wear the next day, I just like make something. Okay. And then I got in this weird habit of, like even to this day, I don't like to shop or go to the mall. It's so boring to me, but I would just walk through, and I'd walk about 10, 15 feet away from all the clothes. And then I'd play a game and I'd say, okay, that's polyester, that's 45% polyester and 35% cotton and 10% nylon, right? And I would just identify what made up those different clothes. Like what was the percentage of the fabric in each? Is that weird? Okay. Now you're going to see something, how this all comes around in a minute. So, it was just little things. What did you do that was weird? Okay, kind of weird. Put it down. Think about this for a minute. Who were you as a teenager, right? And then the other thing I did was I called it it was my mad scientist time. Again, I used to get in trouble a lot and kind of get told to go to my room. So I had this, I loved it because then I could play mad scientist, and I would collect different ingredients from around the house, and I get all these Dixie cups. So I called it, Dixie cup mad scientist, and then mix things, and I'd let them brew and figure out. I thought maybe from this, I'm going to have this amazing skincare line or something that is going to come out of it. So those are some examples of really weird teenage habits that I did. You might all have clicked and run by now, but that's okay. So how does that affect you, right? These weird things actually help you become the GOAT. If you just followed everybody's orders and you were perfectly in line, right? It's a lot harder to become the GOAT because you have to be really disruptive. So I see some hearts and likes on that one. Thank you. I'm warning you, this is weird. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in here. Okay. But that's why I built 5 multi-million-dollar companies from scratch, right? I'm not going to follow the pattern. So if you want some help, like if you're like, can you put all these weird things I did together and help me figure out what I should do? It's not just a passion, right? We know where to look to find that thing that you used to do and pull it out. Okay. And the stuff that I did, is actually what I do now. One other weird thing I used to do, because I was very shy, right? And growing up in Europe, I had an accent and I didn't look or sound like anybody else. So I was very shy. I was a wallflower, and I would just watch people, and I watch and watch and watch. And I started to really study their behavior, and I saw, when people do this and this, they get along, or they get what they want. When they do this and this, it's trouble, right? And I watched my sisters, and they weren't that popular. And so I thought, in order for me to not get beat up all the time, I can just be popular, right? So all of these things will play into your adulthood and your business. So here's the fourth thing, and then I say the fun one. Actually, there's 6 of them. Okay, so high agency people defy social incentives. What does that mean? You're not going to behave as people expect you to behave. Do you know how a lot of people are just so sweet to you up front, and then they're mean to you behind the back? Okay, well, uh, goats and high agency leaders are basically rude to your face, right? They'll tell you how it is right up front. Okay. They don't have time to sugarcoat things or worry about your poor little feelings. They just need to be blunt, and the truth is really, really important. Okay. So that is a big sign with them. They are going to tell you exactly how it is. It's sort of no filter in a way. Okay. You get a little bit better. You're not like totally on the spectrum as far as no emotion, but they're just not going to be double-minded. Okay. And the next thing kind of ties with that. When you think about what they do and when they communicate with you, they always send you different things. You know how a lot of people just put memes and they repeat what everybody else is saying online. A big thing that people do right now, and you'll see this a lot, they're making all these YouTube channels and things, and all they're doing is talking over the news that was already up. Okay, have you seen that? Like, oh, this is what happened politically, and they'll sit there and go, ooh, ah, ooh, okay. They're just following what everybody else is doing. There's no originality to it. That's not a business. It might be a stream of income, but it isn't going to last. Okay, trust me on that. So, what do you need to do? Just focus on the truth, right? People who are high agency, they deliver the truth, and that's what matters. They don't care about being popular. Okay. They're always going to send you these weird things, these niche things, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking to be disruptive. So, very important. Okay. And then the last thing is counterintuitive behavior. And so, what I mean by this is you are not going to expect them to think or behave or have beliefs around what they should be thinking. Like, wow, if you're president of a company, you should behave this way. Or if you're an actor, you should behave this way, or whatever it is. Okay. So their beliefs do not align with their stereotype. Okay. So, for example, in my world, my first real gig job was in the fashion industry, and it was a high fashion model, and people would expect you to behave a certain way, right? And I didn't. I wasn't girly. I still don't do my nails. I don't do pedicures. I don't shop. I'm totally contrary to what people would expect. I don't date. Okay, I did date rock stars, but that's over. So it's different than you expect. What did I do? I ended up getting a degree in advanced theoretical physics, right? What are most models known for? Being super airheads, right? And so I get graduate summa cum laude at Duke with a PhD in physics. Craziness, right? And then what do? One of my careers, I switch and I pivot and I run a racing company. I can't even drive a stick shift, right? So I'm the only, a girl usually in the garage. So see how those different things tie together, and that car company ties together with me being on restriction and laying down and identifying cars, right? The modeling aspect, right, worked with me doing the fabrics and all that kind of stuff. So do you see how all of this stuff and how I used to watch people's behavior? That's what I do right now. Is I can identify exactly where somebody is going to be in their business, and I can have predictable human behavior telling you exactly how much they're going to make if they keep going down the same road. So if you want to know something like that and you want to figure out, how is my personality going to make me the goat, or how is my personality breaking me and keeping me from making money, then I want you to just go ahead and book a call. Okay. So book a call, subscribe. We are here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, and just subscribe, come into our group, The Iconic Entrepreneur, or just go to Call Connie, or just type #call, and we'll hop on a quick 10-minute call. That's all you need, and I can point you in the right direction and get you all set up. If you need more time, I'll be happy to give you that. So I want you to go out and be a goat. I want you to look at other people around you. Who would you want to have a percentage of their income from? Why is that? Are the people, those 6 traits that I showed you? I want you to look at those and figure out, are they in you? Were they in you? Can you bring them back to life? Or could you cultivate this kind of personality? And because if you're not going to be a leader, you're just not going to make that 7-figure business. So we will see you next Tuesday at 5 p.m. And leave your comments. Tell me the one thing that you got the most out of this, and let me know what you want to talk about. And next week, because next week I actually have a really great plan for you that you guys will love, and I will see you then. Bye.